Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Mai, and today's video is going to be this beautiful family home that I have built in the world of Ravenwood or Ravenswood. I don't really remember what the new world in the new expansion pack is called, but it is stunning. It is so beautiful, it is so detailed, and the new build and buy items are just to die for. I'm obsessed with them. I want to keep building with them forever and ever. And I don't know, I'm just so happy with them, and they pair so nicely with the Castle Estate kit and a whole bunch of other items that we have in the game. I did in fact use the Castle Estate kit bricks for the exterior walls, and I don't know, I can't even begin to explain how much I love the way that this house turned out. I did decide to cut out the building of the shell just because it took me forever to figure it out, because I really did want this build to feel as authentic as possible. And since the world and a lot of the build and buy items are inspired by Romanian architecture, I wanted to take the time to do the proper research and figure out how to do it right. I haven't been to Romania yet, so I needed to take my time to make sure that it was going to look beautiful and real and not just like a modge podge of items put together with like no real harmony in it. So I took the time, and I'm really proud of the result. I'd love to know if you are from Romania, if you have been to Romania, what you think, if it is anywhere close to what actual Romanian buildings look like, Romanian homes, or if I, totally missed the point at all. I'd love to hear what you guys think, because I want to keep building with this pack and I want to do it properly. I want to use the items the way that they were intended to be used. And I really love these rusted windows that came with the pack. This green color is just stunning, and it looks so beautiful. I just knew I had to add this little sunroom on the side, which I do turn into a hobby space because I actually made this house specifically for the game that I'm playing. So I haven't actually been into gameplay for a very long time, but I knew that I really wanted to try all of the new little features that we got in the new pack, and I really, really love it. There's so many fun things to do. The world is beautiful. The kind of just activities that they've provided are stunning, and they're just like, I don't know, they're just very, very fun. So I wanted to give them a beautiful home to live in. I was just kind of playing in one of the starter homes to just kind of try things out, and I just felt like they deserved a nice family home so that they can fulfill their bucket list. And I really love the way that sunroom turned out. The kitchen is also so beautiful. I did use tiles from the Jungle Adventure game pack, and I was surprised that that actually looked really nice. The terracotta matched so nicely with the wood. And from what I've seen in the kind of inspiration photos that I used, this seems like it would be in a Romanian home, the terracotta. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, seriously, I'd love to know. But it looked really beautiful, and instead of using an island, which I had thought about adding a little bit of an island, I decided to just place a dining table with that open book. That I love doing that. I love kind of sizing down that book and kind of covering the stand and just making it look like it's on a surface. Usually I put it inside a counter, but I decided to put it in a little table this time. And yeah, I thought it looked kind of cool. It looked a little bit witchy or something. And I don't know, just thought I'd try it out to make it look a little different. I also really love these curtains that we got with the pack. They are so beautiful. They have such amazing details, and a lot of the textures that have come with the items in this pack are beautiful. I also really, really love them. I do have a tiny issue with some of the rugs, but you know what? I always have an issue with the rugs, so we're just going to ignore that. And we are working on our sunroom. We don't have a designated dining room in this build. We just have the one in the kitchen, which I do recognize is kind of weird for such a grand home to not have a grand dining room as well. So if you do want to change this little hobby sunroom into a dining room, you can. In here I just have a piano, a little violin. I have an easel, because how could you not paint in this beautiful sunlight? And just a couple of chairs around to, I don't know, whether maybe you like have your friends over and you want them to hear you play the piano, whatever kind of, I don't know, activities you're into. Or it's also just a really nice kind of reading area. That's also what I had in mind for this, is it would be just a beautiful place to read. And I didn't actually add any curtains to the windows, so there's going to be just a lot of sunlight in coming all the time and also probably very little privacy. But I also added this hutch over here in the kitchen. While we're building, I'm not going to clutter this area up too much, but in post-production, I do grab a whole bunch of items and just stack that hutch so beautifully. And here we are working on our living room. I added one of those beautiful fireplaces over in the back, and I end up putting just a little ottoman in front of it. But for the most part, I didn't choose to make it a focal point, mostly because of the placement though. If not, I definitely would have made it the focal point. We do just have all of these beautiful windows around, so it was a little bit hard to make it more central. And around this window at the back here, the area that we're working on, I place some of these tall bookshelves, which are so beautiful. I thought I was obsessed with the bookshelves that came with the Crystal Creations kit, but oh my goodness, these ones are also stunning, and they also have like a short version, so if you don't have the tall walls, you can still use them. And I did place a little reading nook in the middle. I just thought it felt really gorgeous. And I also placed a TV because, I don't know, I wanted it to be a functional space. And in this little corner, I decided to place a desk. I also placed a typewriter on here, so I know that writing is a very important skill building. I know that writing is a very important skill to build with the gameplay that came with the pack, so I knew that I wanted to add one in, and we don't really have like an office space in here, so I just made a little office corner. After in post-production, when I was kind of staring at that space, I thought maybe I'd change it up a little, but I decided to leave it as is with just that little kind of corner desk, not make it too grand. I didn't want it to take up too much of the space or too much of the focus in this room. And here in the entryway, of course we're working on the entryway last, that makes so much sense. I knew that I wanted this to be very grand. I wanted this to feel very important, and I don't actually know how well I achieved that. I didn't want it to kind of be too repetitive with the 2 marble tables, so I ended up moving that and just placing a little chair. And for the most part with decor, I kept it pretty minimal because I wanted this to feel very formal, and I just don't associate formal with clutter. So I just added a few urns to keep it a little creepy, and some of these little kind of feathery items, that new vase that came with the pack, and that little kind of quill and paper clutter item that also came with the pack. And of course, another one of these little ottomans. Those little kind of ottoman stool things are from Lovestruck, but they have that gothic vibe to it, so I felt like they matched really well. I found it really interesting that there's a lot of very traditional items in this pack, but also a lot of really modern items. So I don't know, it's a little bit interesting to try and mix them up, or like mix them together, but I mean, I prefer the classics. I'm not very into modern anything, modern art, modern architecture. I really love the little details, the very ornate items, and yeah, that little attention is so important to me. So I used mostly those items, but I don't know, I did try to mix in a little bit of the modern anyways, just because the items are very beautiful. And we are working on our primary bedroom right now. In here, I just fit a bed and a dresser. And because I sized down these curtains, we were left with a bit of a gap at the bottom, and I wanted to add kind of a shelf or something, and I decided to place the TV table, and it fit quite perfectly. I was very pleasantly surprised, so I am probably going to use that little trick again in the future. And over here we create the little dressing area, but I really wanted to use this mirror, and I don't know why it is up so high. So I tried to kind of do that little trick where you remove the wall and you just kind of alt place it a little bit, but I gave up on it. It was just too much work. It wasn't really working. It wasn't looking right. So I ended up using this mirror from Get Famous, which is a mirror that I do not use that often, but it just looked very fancy and yeah, fit pretty nicely. The colors worked, and I obviously had to add a full-length mirror as well, also because that was a bit of an awkward corner, and I don't know, I wanted to add something a little bit fancier, but I really like that mirror. It's from, I want to say Vampires, and yeah, it's also not something that I use too often. I think the Vampire pack in general is one that I don't really get to use too often because it has very specific looking items. Also just a lot of very like vampiric looking items, and unless you're specifically building for vampires. It's hard to just kind of slip that into a normal build. And yeah, just adding a couple of flowers to these nightstands. I think later I end up adding like a keepsake box from Growing Together and a music box that came with the new pack, which is so beautiful. I love music boxes. I have this one music box that is not actually a box. It is a snow globe, and it has a little carousel inside. My grandma gave it to me, and it plays music, and it's probably one of my favorite items that I own. So there has always been just a special place in my heart for music boxes, and I don't know, singing The Sims is always fun, having that kind of like representation. And I do end up sizing down another one of these little TV tables to place in front of the bed so that that space didn't feel too empty. Here I am adding that keepsake box, and I think the music box I end up adding in post-production. I think I forget to add it now, but now I'm just cluttering up this little TV table. I end up cluttering the dresser in post-production just because, again, I knew that this build was getting really long and I didn't want to kind of overload with the clutter items unless it was like essential for the plot, which is kind of what I'm going to be doing in this space here, because I created a little reading nook. I just tucked in that love seat that came with the book nook kit to kind of hide the edges of it, and it fits absolutely like perfectly, like so perfectly in any kind of 2x1 space, and all you see is just kind of the bench and the pillows, and it was just, I don't know, I love doing that. I think I've done it before in, there was, I kind of remember the build that I did this in. I think it was like a dark academia cottage that I made a very long while back. Maybe I'll link it in the video, maybe I won't. We'll find out if I remember. But yeah, I had done that before, and that's kind of, it always stuck with me because it looks so beautiful and it's like a perfect way to create these little reading nooks. And I did add this full-length mirror from Jungle Adventure. I was very pleasantly surprised how well the Jungle Adventure items fit with the items in this pack. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to mix that in. And we are working on the first of the kids' bedrooms. We end up having 2 extra bedrooms. This one, which is going to be for like a child or a teenager, depending. I mean, I do put in a little dollhouse, but you can probably remove it and fit this more for a teenager. But yeah, we have this one, which is child or teen, and then the next room is going to be for a toddler, and then there is also a bassinet in there, so if you decide to have a third child, it can be there, or when they age up, you can, or I guess I forgot, yeah, I didn't put in a crib for an infant, but you could probably trade those little items out. And I really love the way that this room turned out. I gave it kind of like a brown and purple theme, which is kind of cool. I felt very witchy. Maybe they want to be a spellcaster in the future or something. And I love this little dollhouse that came with the Storybook Nursery kit. I think it is so cute and stunning. I don't know, I really, really love it. Of course, I had to add more of those curtains that came with the pack, and I really wanted to use the desk from Paranormal Stuff, but it didn't have the right swatches. I wish that they could maybe, in some kind of update, add some better swatches to that, because it is very hard to fit in just any build. And the 2 extra kind of kids' bedrooms have access to this balcony over here. I don't actually know, because I did kind of place some items in front of the doors, if they can access it, but it is there, so if you want to kind of move things around to make it more accessible, you can. And it's very, I don't know, it's kind of nice for the kids to have that. Maybe they can live out some kind of Romeo and Juliet situation out on the balcony. Their lover is down on the street and calling out to them. Who knows? I always think it's kind of fun to give teenagers especially kind of a little outdoor space next to their house, or next to their bedroom, just to kind of give that illusion of extra freedom. And here we are working on our little kind of more nursery room. And this one definitely came out a little bit creepier than the other bedroom, mostly because I used that teddy bear that has like the skull and bones on it, and even the wallpaper also has a skull on it, which it is cute for this bedroom, but personally I hate skulls, so I am probably not going to use this everywhere. Like, I mean, for this one specifically, it works because in my head, the kid that sleeps in this room is like a bit of a troublemaker. They really like oh my god, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. They really like pranks, they really like scaring people, and I don't know, yeah, it's a bit of a troublemaker room, and the skulls just kind of work with that, kind of gives them bit of a dark aura or something, but definitely not a wallpaper that I'm going to use too often. And I did try to fit in that change table just to, you know, keep it nursery-like, but it just didn't really look right, so I ended up removing it. And I don't know, you don't really need it in The Sims, like you can just change your child's diaper without it, so it didn't feel like an essential, but I do end up putting a potty in the bathroom, so yeah, it's fine. There's somewhere for your kid to go, and I do fit in this short version of that bookshelf. There you saw that I placed the potty in here, but I do end up moving it to the bathroom, which you might see, or I might do in post-production, I don't remember. But yeah, just put in a rocking chair, which I felt was also very essential for a nursery, and a couple of these picture frames from Werewolves, which I really love. And I do end up including the furnishing of this bathroom, which for bigger builds I usually try not to do because it feels like not super essential to the build. But since I did have quite a clear idea as to like how I wanted the bathroom to look, then I felt like I could do it really quickly and it wasn't going to be like a big issue. So I did include it, and it does look different from most of the bathrooms that I furnish on my channel. So I felt like maybe it was fine. And because I did size down the curtain again, I was thinking of placing another TV stand, but instead I just kind of ignore it, and I think it looks fine. Yeah, I used that new mirror that came with the pack, which I really love. The new mirror is really pretty. It's just like a single like space mirror, but I really love the details on it and the shape. I would love to have a mirror like that in real life. And the balconies and the porch, I don't really furnish too much. I don't add like any skill building items. I just put a bench and a couple of these planters from Get Together, which is another like pack that works really nicely with the Life and Death expansion. I think it's because it's also very kind of European architecture inspired, and yeah, it works really well. I think the world in Get Together is more inspired by somewhere like kind of like a more German world. I don't actually remember because it's called Windenburg, so it's definitely somewhere a little bit more Germanic, but I mean, it doesn't really look that much like Germany, so I don't know. And I just added very minimal landscaping. Then I don't know if you can see, I don't know how I can describe this. If you are staring at the crypt to the left, there's like a little patch of grass between the crypt and the house, and over there I end up adding a couple of gravestones, which you will see in the screenshots, because yeah, it just felt like a perfect little place for that, right next to the crypt, and just a creepy little spot. I do also end up placing some planters around here so that you can grow death flowers or something else that's also very creepy. But besides that, I did keep the landscaping fairly minimal. The build itself was already super detailed and fairly large, so I didn't want to overload it with too many things. I didn't want it to feel like overly detailed, so I kept it very, very simple, just so that it wasn't too busy. And we're starting with a little bit of the terrain paint now, and while I'm doing the terrain paint, I realized that I didn't landscape the back of the house, so I will do that just while we're airbrushing here. And this little crypt that came with the build, if you don't play with gameplay or if you don't have The Sims 4, it is just like a little item. You can be an undertaker through that crypt, or you can just kind of explore the tunnels and it'll show you little prompts and things like that. So it's a bit of an interesting item. I don't know, I really like playing with it, and I thought it looked kind of fun out here. I had also thought about making like a little greenhouse in that space, but the crypt felt like it fit really perfectly, so I decided to add that instead. And there's a lot of these new little kind of roof items, and most of the time I forget about the roof items, but for this one I knew that I really wanted to place some just to add a couple of extra details, because if not, it looked a little bit flat. So yeah, here I am trying to place them properly, kind of sizing them up, sizing them down, playing with them a little, and kind of also realizing that I used the wrong pieces in some areas, because there's two of those spires, like there's two versions of these spires, one that just kind of sticks out and one that attaches itself kind of perfectly to the other spikes, but for some reason I used the wrong one. Here I am figuring it out and trying to rework it again, because of course doing it once just wasn't enough for me. I needed to make it even more complicated, but I do really love the little details that it adds. I think that it, you know, just adds a couple extra extra oomph. And we are the screenshots now, so we're gonna get to see any extra little details like I said before, those planters, and yeah, I think that it ended up looking so amazing. And like I said before, if you are Romanian or if you have been to Romania, please give me some pointers so that the next build is even more authentic than this one. There's a little fountain that I also added in post-production, which I felt was really perfect, and here are those gravestones that I mentioned before. They look amazing. I think it really adds to it. And here we have our entryway. I did add a painting in here, which I had forgotten to add before, but because yeah, the paneling just already makes it look so filled with art, but it's just the paneling. And here we have our living room. I did add a little crow in here because you can have like a pet crow almost, so that was a fun little item. And yeah, our living room is very, very formal. I find that this space is very open, which again, tell me if that is authentic or not. I couldn't really tell. Here's our hutch. Oh my god, I love all the little details that I added in this hutch. And there's that little, I added a little stack of books from base game behind the book stand just to kind of make it look like it was leaning against it, and also just to hide that little like pull thing. But here we have our sunroom, hobby room. I love the violin standing on top of that Roman column. I thought that was such a fun little detail. Here we have our landing. Very simple little book nook area. Here is our bathroom. I did add a little bit of clutter on the counter here. And I just really love that tub from Get Together. I thought it worked so perfectly in that space. And here we have our little nursery, our kids' room with that rocking chair that I really like it. I really love the little details on it. And here we have our kids' room or teens' room, which is also very delicate, very sweet, not too much personality, so you can change it up depending on what your child or teen likes. And here we have our primary bedroom with that music box that I mentioned before. Thought it turned out really beautiful as well, but it is actually going to be the last space that we see. So I just want to take this time to say a huge thank you for all of your guys' support. I'm so proud of how far this channel has gone, and I appreciate every single one of you. I hope that you enjoyed this build as much as I did. Bye buds, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Comment and share with your friends. Talk to y'all soon. Bye!